Hey folks, welcome back to the XTS Custom Shop here in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. The weather outside is very confused. We went from warm and rainy to quite chilly, as evidenced by Eric's flannel.
Yeah, it was cold this morning.
Yes, my wife told me to take a jacket, and I disregarded her warning, and as has occurred many times in our marriage, I am regretting that. What is not regretful at all is the amount of good stuff here on this board. Can y'all guess maybe who inspired this board? Eric, have you considered that in your time building this? Who might have?
I was just racking my brain the whole time I was putting this together.
Give you a hint.
I mean, John McLaughlin, maybe?
Oh, I hadn't considered that. Now I'm second guessing the whole thing.
Pat Metheny, could be.
Could be. I think even if it was a Pat Metheny board, it would certainly be capable of covering the Van Halen.
No, it's definitely George Lynch.
Definitely George Lynch. Well, if it helps you, Eric, it's supposed to go with this head here. Now it's all coming together.
Yeah.
And that head, I like the way the head sounded. I guess maybe Channel 2 the most out of from hearing what you were playing.
I think Channel 2 is probably my personal favorite.
It was kind of crunchier, a little less compressed, maybe a little more mid-forward.
Yeah, the Channel 3 is kind of, it sounds about the same. Sort of the last, maybe gain there to there kind of sounds the same.
Does the feel change? Or no?
A little bit, yeah, but not as much as you would maybe think. It's just there's a lot of gain.
There's a lot of gain. That certainly seemed clear.
Which makes it extremely fun to play. For sure.
Well, walk us through, so that's kind of the amp bit of it. What's going on with this board, and how does it interface with that amp?
Yeah, well, the whole thing is based around Boss ES8, as you can see, because here it is. So really, everybody's in the loops here. The loops in this thing are movable.
Yep.
It's got a FlexiFace, our FlexiFace thing, to run stuff in the loop. And because you can move stuff around inside the ES8, you can put any of this stuff in the loop or out of it, which is especially useful for, let's say, the chorus, maybe the flanger, very much for this thing, because you can, and we'll do a playthrough later, which you'll hear me butcher some Van Halen songs, or just guess it then maybe. You can do your delays and whatnot in here. You can put them, because the matrix in this thing's movable, you can put your delays in front of your amp for early Van Halen. You can put them after and put a pitch up down on it, like later years Van Halen with his wet dry wet setup,
which you kind of did in the initial setup.
Yeah.
For the sounds for this client,
because that one's the most fun to goof around with.
And then same thing with the chorus, right? So you can do Pretty Woman, put it in front.
Exactly, or you can put it back, and there's probably another song where he uses the chorus after everything that I don't know.
Sure.
But yeah, super cool. All these pedals sound great.
Yep.
This thing's awesome. It sounds pretty similar to the Channel 2 of this amp even.
Cool.
So if you want to use this thing with just a deluxe or Princeton or whatever, you've got your gain set up there.
For sure.
Which is super useful. And then you can also put whatever you want in that. Yeah. I think that's the first one of those we've seen, right?
I believe so. Did you have any major takeaways from it?
It is very cool and it's super powerful. I kind of only scratched the surface of just putting some sounds together and getting it to work with MIDI and all that.
Right.
But it's funny because there's so many modelers and they all have a different philosophy of how to use them. So I have a little HX stomp at home, so Helix makes the most sense to me because it's the one I goof around with the most.
So you're kind of talking about like the interface, or just the user interface?
The UI of it. That one, that's English to me. All these other ones are Spanish and German.
Sure.
And I'm fairly bilingual in that regard. Of you can figure them out, but they're a second thing.
Second language.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not as quick and easy.
Yep.
But all that to say, they all do kind of the same thing.
For
Just
sure.
pick the one you think sounds the best.
Oh, cool. Well, we'll go hook this up, and Eric will play some riffage through it, kind of show you what he's initially set up here as a proof of concept, and to just give the client sort of a head start on sounds. And so we'll catch you in just a few. Thanks. All right, folks, we got everything hooked up here, so you can see the guitar and the amp input, send, return, and the MIDI from essentially the Boss ES8 to the EVH 5150 head. Those all are connected, and Eric's going to walk you through some of the sounds that he made. So we're kind of trying to hit all the landmarks in the VH catalog, and Eric's going to show us the fruits of his labor, as it were.
Yeah, and do a bad job of playing some Van Halen songs.
But the guitar is right.
Yeah, and for those unaware, this is an OG PV Wolfgang.
You know it.
And it's still got the, I think it's either the C sticker or the patent pending thing. This is one of the very early ones.
Yep.
And it's awesome, man. I love it.
Cool guitar.
But I don't really know how to play any Van Halen songs. So.
Well, you could have fooled me.
So this is kind of clean, compressed, and it'll do that.
And where are you getting the compression from?
From the GT 1000.
Very cool. And so that's
That
the
thing's
clean,
awesome.
clean channel of the
Yes.
head.
And cleaner there. For this one, that thing is in front of the preamp because putting compressors in the loop is a noisy proposition.
That can be.
Which is the beauty of this thing. You can move everybody around.
That's great.
So that's kind of that. Next one is shooting at early Van Halen, kind of the Marshall, the Van Halen sound everybody knows for. One repeat, plate reverb.
So for that one, you put the delay in front. Is that right?
Yeah, to try to mimic the Echoplex up in front of the amp.
Yep. Very
It's
cool.
a good sound. It's weird. You never think to just put one repeat on your delay, and pretty short one at that, but man, it sure does. Sure does sound cool.
For sure.
And of course, Phase 100 is always awesome for that sound. And then 4 is kind of the Pretty Woman thing, so it's got that chorus up in front of channel 2. Always an awesome song. And a super cool riff.
Yep.
And then 5 is, now we're just mono and everything's coming through one cabinet, but this is kind of an approximation of latter year stuff with the wet, dry, wet thing. So we're on channel 3, and this is pretty close. I saw Van Halen live maybe, gosh, 7 years ago, 6 years ago. And a lot of gain, a lot of horsey sounds that he does. This is pretty close. Gain, there's a pitch on just one side, so we're going up a little bit. There's a delay, a dual delay. I think it's 250 on one side and 500 on the other, even though it's mono, but it's still pretty cool sound. Always fun. Channel 3 on this thing's super cool. And then 6 is, you know, I didn't even know this song, and then Barry said, "Why don't you set up that cathedral sound?" I thought, what song is that? So I went and listened to it. Super cool.
And you found a cheat.
Well, the beauty of the Boss is that it's got all the Boss pedals in it, so it's got a slow gear in there. So you can, if you're not good at the volume trick, you can do that, or you can turn it off and that's probably not how it goes, but you get the idea, hopefully.
For sure.
So a super cool board.
Yeah, this whole thing sounds great.
And yeah, really satisfying. Now this bank is all for in front of the EVH, but there's a similar set up below in bank 1 for if you're using just a one-channel amp that's clean or so. So you've got kind of. And then for the rest of the gain stuff, we get that 150 overdrive in there, which sounds pretty close to channel 2.
Yeah.
Oh, and you know what? I set this one up.
That's pretty hip.
Yeah, forgot I did that. You can set these buttons up to also be momentary things. So it momentarily will. Do that, which is super fun.
Super great.
And yeah, that pedal is just, it sounds good. Anymore with trying to do that tapping. But super cool board.
Yeah, this is a great setup, and the sounds that you've got set up in there are really kind of prove the utility of the board. It's with that GT 1000 and the ability of the ES8 to sort of move things around. You've got a ton of flexibility.
Yeah, and it could do so much more than sort of just even Van Halen stuff.
Absolutely, agreed.
And imagine how good it would sound with somebody playing it that knows Van Halen songs.
Well, we'll have to continue on in our efforts
to do that.
And we'll continue to make boards until Eric is forced to learn every great guitarist who's ever existed.
You know, I can only fake about 2.
All right, man. Well, great work, Eric. This client's going to love this. If you guys dig it, always let us know in the comments. And you can always call us if you need something likewise or not. Later.